Welcome back, AgEcon. Hopefully, you are excited to dive into our last lesson here of Unit 1, all about the foundations of economics. We're going to be learning a little bit about supply and demand today, and this is a really important concept that you will see reappear many times throughout the class. So let's dig in. Our learning targets for today, I can define the laws of supply and demand in my own words. I can evaluate a supply and demand schedule to determine the point of equilibrium. I can create and interpret a supply and demand graph, and I can understand the effect of a shortage or surplus on a market. Now, we all know that we're in this pandemic right now, at least when I'm making this video here in December 2020. And the COVID-19 or coronavirus pandemic has created a large disruption in our economy. And one of these ways is through the toilet paper supply, right? So I have an article that we're going to read today, and you're more than welcome to read the link that I posted on Classroom or on these slides. Or if you want to listen to me talk, I'll read through the article here and we'll have some conversation about this in class. So the article is called Coronavirus Disrupts Supply Chains, but Toilet Paper Should Be Back Soon. And this was written in late March 2020 when our toilet paper was becoming very scarce or limited. Okay. The coronavirus pandemic is revealing weak links in the global supply chain that fuels American industry, fills grocery store shelves, and supplies the online mail order businesses that deliver to our homes. But don't worry, there should be ample toilet paper available again before long, Scott Duhadway, professor of the supply chain management at Portland University, told Think Out Loud on Friday. Duhadway describes the supply chain as a globally connected network that includes farms and mines, manufacturers of simple widgets and complex equipment, and also the system that gets everything where it needs to be, including to factories, stores, and homes. There's this huge connected network of companies that all contribute the same way, he said. And just as COVID-19 poses a higher risk for the most vulnerable around us, the coronavirus pandemic is creating more challenges for the weaker links in the supply chain, said Duhadway, who called the global outbreak a global stress test of the entire network. The weakest links are, in some cases, proving to be those companies that do not prioritize the health of their workers, he said. How do I protect my employees? How do I keep them healthy? How do I build in an appropriate sick leave pay and make sure they have health insurance? Businesses that have not already addressed those questions are proving less able to respond to COVID-19, he said. Companies that are most dependent on specialized products are also being hit hard, he said. For example, a car has a lot of different, very specific supplies or inputs that all go into making a car, each supplied by companies that are not within an automaker's control. And there are few, if any, options for replacing needed parts if a business lower on the supply chain is unable to deliver, he said. Businesses that rely more widely on available commodities, meanwhile, have more alternatives when their usual vendors are disrupted. As to the item of most concern for many people today, toilet paper, Duhadway said, there's good news there. Supply lines are not disrupted. It's higher consumer demand at a moment of fear about the future that is leading to empty shelves. Traditionally, toilet paper has an incredibly stable demand pattern. We use the exact same amount of toilet paper as a society on a consistent basis, Duhadway said. When there's a sudden spike in that demand, it takes some time for the supply chain to make that increase in production, he said. The good news is they are ramping up production, so we will likely see an increase in product. The same is true of other products being cleared from the supermarket shelves as shoppers buy more so they can cook at home and limit trips to the store, he said. His advice for shoppers? When you go into the store and see products that are depleted, focus on buying products that are in excess, such as fresh vegetables if the canned beans are sold out, he said. Prioritizing the products that are in excess will stabilize the entire system overall. So this article is a great introduction to the concept of supply and demand. And as we see in the diagram over to the right, supply and demand are constantly in like this arm wrestle state of mind. There's never going to be really an ideal time where both supply and demand are in check or together because they're both constantly fluctuating, both because of our demands as consumers, but also on the business side of things, supply, which we don't necessarily see as consumers. So hang tight. We're going to talk a little bit more about supply and demand and how this all relates to us here today as we unpack the supply and demand section of Unit 1. Thanks for watching.